Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my core and commentary Ashton. And as always, we invite you to recline back your chairs, ease all of your cares as we present to you our NXT review. And don't let the chill and calm atmosphere fool you, because what that actually belies is our sheer enjoyment of tonight's NXT. We both took extensive notes on it. And one thing I want to say about this NXT, if I may, because I didn't make an explicit point of this in my notes, I think what this episode really illustrated, especially in segments that we will talk about later, I would say the Loomis Thatcher segment that kind of set up their match that they would have tonight, and the opening segment, and just throughout the show. I like how NXT really isn't shy about using a lot of the hands that they have on deck. I think we saw a lot of minor people kind of play a role in events tonight, and that was really cool to see. I like them utilizing talent that way, and I just think this is a really strong installment for NXT. We had 3 championship matches tonight: North American Championship, Cruiserweight Championship, and NXT Tag Team Championships, and I thought each match really stood out in its own distinct ways. Ashton, what did you think about this episode tonight, man?
Yeah, this was a really fun one. I definitely enjoyed this episode. I think that some of the decisions were interesting, not bad, but not necessarily great, but just interesting, which I think is a good thing as far as like ratings go, because you're keeping people intrigued and hooked, kind of. And I will say, I mean, I haven't really said this about NXT in a while, but they left me wanting more, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with you there. And I've really got nothing else to say in terms of preliminary remarks, because again, I know we both took extensive notes. So you ready to just get into this?
Absolutely, let's.
And let us get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. And I gotta say again, like I found something worthwhile in more or less all these segments, so really nothing to complain about. Do you have any Heats of the Night tonight?
I don't think so, no. I think pretty much everything I either enjoyed or at the very least didn't have a problem with. I mean, I don't really know if it's even appropriate to call this the Heat of the Night or just something that we should just not worry about talking about regardless, but Ciampa's promo tonight was trash.
I just kind of, I don't think I put this explicitly in my notes, but my thought was, oh my God, old man Champa complaining about the millennials.
Yeah.
That was like totally the vibe that I got.
Absolutely. I literally had in my notes, Champa is old man yells at clouds again.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's 100% right. We've been kind of getting this vibe for a little bit. I mean, honestly, Champa, I've kind of soured on him knowing some of his personal leanings, which I try not to let bear on the quality of work. I do still think he's a solid in-ring worker.
I feel like it would be so much better not to let the personal leanings kind of color the way that we feel about the performer if the performer wasn't kind of espousing his personal leanings in his promos on TV.
Yeah, if you didn't see that kind of infusion between the personal and the professional in terms of the character, I'm definitely inclined to agree. But yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from, so we can kind of gloss over that, when we come to Ciampa's promo, because it really was complaining about the locker room culture of today, and I found it funny that he used the word culture when what's one big buzzword today, right? Cancel culture. So I don't know if that was a deliberate choice of phrasing or if I'm just reading too much into it. Both are possible. But Ciampa says like he's going to change the culture, and yeah, definitely very old man Ciampa yells at clouds-esque. So us addressing it here, I wouldn't mind glossing it over in the actual review. Which, speaking of, are you ready to get into that?
Yes.
Then let us get into our NXT review. Now, they open with a Veterans Day package. Enough said about that. How they formally open the show in terms of content is with Johnny Gargano with a wheel of challengers to determine his opponent for the North American Championship. He kind of gives us a rundown of the Gargano curse, if you will. Every time he's won a championship, first defense, he loses it. Raquel's doing it exactly with his North American Championship during his first run, and then the NXT Championship. But that's going to change tonight. Now, I'll admit I did inadvertently get spoiled on this by Ashton, just like, the result of the match and everything. So I think it's only fair that I have Ashton talk about this first. So Gargano spins the wheel, and then, Bud, what happened from there? Because a lot happened from there.
Yeah, so Gargano spins the wheel, and it is very obviously rigged to land on Leon Ruff. I forget, it was going between Champa and someone else that maybe Priest even, actually. But Leon Ruff was right in between them, and it kept on like fluctuating back and forth, and it landed on Leon Ruff. It was very clearly rigged. It was designed to be obviously rigged, and Johnny even admitted later on in the night that he rigged it. But the whole point was that it was supposed to land on Leon Ruff because Leon Ruff is like the very bottom of the totem pole in NXT, and Johnny wanted an easy first defense, right? Well, Leon Ruff comes out, and we get, because Johnny isn't like one of these like big dominating like monster types, we do get a decent little exchange between these guys. They end up on the outside. Johnny ends up in control. But then Damian Priest starts showing up in the crowd. He shows up, I think, on at least one of the actual sides of the CWC, and then he eventually ends up on the ramp. And it distracts Johnny every time he sees him. And the last time that he does it, when he's on the ramp, it allows Leon Ruff to get in a fucking crucifix driver, which he wins with. Leon Ruff is the new North American champion, and Damian Priest is on the ramp celebrating with him. He puts the title around his waist, and then they lift their hands up, and the title slides down Leon's body because he's so tiny. And like, our new North American champion in NXT is 125-pound Leon Ruff.
So again, Ashton couldn't contain his shock and his excitement about this, and I don't blame him for that. We just got to remember going forward, bro, that I'm always going to be on a delay. Yeah. So I think when we watch like any show, you should probably always have your mic muted, and then we'll just let our notes do the talking, right? Yeah. But I will say,
or at the very least, we should still like try to sync up so that
yeah. Something like that, because unfortunately I was spoiled on this, but I do still want to share my notes, if I may. I thought Ruff, and I'm happy for the dude. I really am. This wasn't like a, oh, what the fuck? I personally loved this.
I mean, it was a what the fuck, but not like an angry what the fuck, and more like a happy what the fuck?
Exactly, because like I remember growing up in the Ruthless Aggression era, like the Leon Ruff back then was Shannon Moore. And I could have only imagined. Beg pardon?
Or Santino even.
Yeah, or Santino. Yeah, Santino. But the difference is he actually won the Intercontinental title in his debut, don't forget. I'm talking about when you'd get, like, opportunities like this. Because I remember Brock Lesnar, when he was heel WWE champion, he did, like, a pick a name out of a hat thing, and all the names were Shannon Moore. But you would have never imagined Shannon Moore becoming WWE champion. Right. And you never really imagine the guy, especially because, again, the big difference with Santino, just to kind of contextualize that was his debut right out of the gate. When you've got people like Shannon and Leon, more contemporary, already established as the jobber characters, I think it gives it that extra punch when this happens. Yeah. And I love that. So what I wanted to say was that I am happy for Ruff, because I think the dude, he bumps and sells his ass off. Yeah. I think he has a very endearing look. Mm-hmm. He seems solid in the ring when he actually gets offense. Like, I even have in my notes that he may be the best underdog character WWE has had in a minute. And for me personally, him winning the title adds a fascinating wrinkle in the Gargano Priest story. Because now, is it just going to be their story sans championship? Or how does Ruff figure into all this? They've actually, by doing this, have made the North American Championship one of the more compelling divisions on their program. And Gargano was brutal here. And again, that just, is a testament to Ruff and how well he sells and how well he bumps. The fucking lawn dart he took in this, it looked like he killed the kid. I fucking loved it, man. It was a great match. It was a fun match. I think it's one of the parts about wrestling that this match is indicative of, that, upsets can happen at any time. And I thought they played it so well. You already touched on the main points. Priest kind of provided a distraction. So that obviously very much protects Gargano. Gargano is like beside himself. He's apoplectic. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about the match before I just smoothly transition to the next thing here? Because we do have a continuation here.
Go ahead.
We've got Priest laughing backstage. Ruff is coming through. Everybody's clapping for him, including Regal. Mm-hmm. And Priest warns him like, hey, congratulations, I'm happy for you. And I thought Priest was going to say, like, I'm coming for you next. Yeah. Or something like that. But what he actually says is, you need to know, when Johnny comes through there, he's going to beat your ass. So here, take my black Camaro, get out of here.
Black Challenger.
Black Challenger, excuse me. take it and escape. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Johnny comes through. He's livid. He's absolutely apoplectic. And he's like, no, there was no contract. That match was more or less illegitimate. It should be thrown out. And Priest said, you made the match, you idiot. And he's reveling in Johnny losing the championship. And he's straight up laughing in his face. And Johnny's like, everybody knows Johnny Gargano hates wheels. This is your fault. This is your fault. Yeah, I thought they were about to come fist to blows here. Referees get between them. Regal's like, hey, calm your tits here. And so, yeah, Johnny is absolutely beside himself. Priest is reveling in this. And I got to be honest again, if you're going to keep a feud going, you have to do things like this. Like, we already see feuds like on SmackDown now. The Mysterio family and the Rollins cult, that's been going on forever. I don't even know if you could add any jolts to that. This, when you would have expected it to be done maybe after like an obligatory rematch, well, we haven't even gotten there because they've completely subverted it by putting the belt on Ruff. I loved how this was structured. I think this might have actually been the high point of the show because this was such a great shot in the arm to start the program. And I don't know if they did anything except maybe the end of the show, which I thought that was great.
I was going to say the end of the show is definitely it for me. There was one other thing in the show that was like a high point for me that we'll talk about later that I loved. But yeah, the beginning and the end of the show were on point for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's pretty much all regarding the North American Championship, at least so far in the night, because we do get another follow-up with it. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about this?
The Gargano curse continues, man.
Absolutely. You'll love to see it. Unless you're Johnny Gargano, and then you hate to see it. But then again, I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't have deified a fucking wheel like a mark.
Well, and plus, I mean, other people seeing Johnny Gargano suffer, you'll love to see that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, no doubt. So, next thing up here, we've got Santos Escobar defending his cruiserweight title against Jake Atlas. Now, NXT actually does a good job setting the table. I even saw these videos get uploaded to WWE's YouTube earlier in the day. Atlas takes a steel pipe to one member of LDF. I wasn't quite sure, if it was Joaquin Wild or it was Wild. Okay, so it was just kind of sending a message like, "Anytime, Escobar, anytime, I got you." So we do this. I'm definitely biased even in my notes because I said Escobar needs to rein this descent in like the man with the drip that he is. This is his cruiserweight division, and Atlas has a lot of nerve, in my personal opinion. I do make a more serious point in my notes here. I said Escobar is so good in the ring, he might very well be one of the most underrated workers in the company right now. Because I think you look at like the guys that get prime time, right? Like Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles. Of course, we're going to give them their due. But Escobar being in a division that for so long I think was maligned by a lot of people, us included, because, at 205 Live didn't really grip us. What Escobar is doing, it helps that he has the title, but even if he wasn't the Cruiserweight champion, I would say that he was the face of the Cruiserweight division. He is so consistent. He is so well packaged. He really is one of my favorite acts in the company, not just NXT. Yeah. And I said, also I want to make a side note that this match kind of brought up. Barrett may be one of my favorite commentators in the company. He had an amazing fucking line in this match. He said, quote, about Escobar, "The only thing better than beating the odds is being the odds." I love that line, dude. I thought that was a great zinger by Barrett. He's been on in this role. I just got to say, we stand Bad News Barrett in this household.
He's just kind of generally a great talent. Like we've always kind of seen him as just like a really great all-around talent. There's nothing really he can't do.
Absolutely. So, we have a solid back and forth in this matchup. I've made my feelings about Jake Atlas quite clear. I don't actively dislike the dude. I'm more ambivalent about Atlas, but he had a fiery, tide-turning sequence in this match. He including hitting Wild and Mendoza with the steel pipe again to negate them when they tried getting involved. And he does a beautiful springboard blockbuster to Escobar. Then when we come back from break, because I think a commercial was put in here, LDF got ejected from ringside. And Santos and Atlas both got inspired offense. Escobar does a frog splash, which is beautiful. Atlas does a dive to the outside. Didn't get full body on body, but it led to a very tight victory roll that led to a nice near fall. And then I said the match ends with Atlas unable to hit the LGBT DDT on Escobar, and Escobar hitting, I think commentary said it's called Legado, which is the double arm underhook facebuster over the knee to retain the title. Now, I actually wanted your thoughts on something, Ashton. And before you give your thoughts on the match, I did want to volley this question to you.
Okay.
Because I even said, I wonder what Ashton would think about this. I said, I think Escobar is the best booked champion in WWE today, whose closest competition is Lashley, although I do love how Sammy carries himself as IC champion. Now, I realize saying this out loud that Roman's really been killing it as Universal champion, but I just think, like, in complete packaging, in terms of presentation, promos, and match quality, I think Escobar is one of the best champions in the company, and I was just wondering what your thoughts on that were.
I would definitely, co-sign onto that. That's a great observation, actually. That's not something that I ever really think about, is like comparing, champions to each other that aren't, in the same area or whatever. Like, I can understand comparing the IC to the US or whatever, but this is like something that I wouldn't think about. And I think you're right. I think that, that is right. That's like, I really wish we didn't have to worry about Jordan Devlin shitting up, everything, trying to call himself the real cruiserweight champion or whatever. But, for people like us who just completely ignore NXT UK's existence, and Santos really is our cruiserweight champion. He is one of the best booked champions, I think, in WWE right now for sure, and maybe even for a little while now.
Yeah, I agree, Foster. That is too much handsome, Roman and Santos. Because again, like,
I think we've said before that Santos looks like a Mexican Roman Reigns.
But, again, I realize saying it out loud that, like, Roman is a glaring omission here. But, like, I guess that's just a testament to the company that with everything that WWE gets wrong, both, kayfabe-wise and just internally with just wrestling culture, they really do have one of the best rosters of champions they've had in a while. Yeah. In my mind, they're very fortunate. They're really in a good place.
If they just gave a shit about their tag divisions, it would be pretty much a clean sweep of great champions across the board.
I completely agree with you. So, not to take up too much time there, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that question that I thought of to put in my notes. Did you have anything you wanted to share about this match? Escobar, Atlas, any feelings about it?
Let me look at my notes. I do like that both of these guys were really aggressive in this. Like, it felt like Atlas intentionally upped his aggressiveness just because he feels wronged. He feels like he has, a comeuppance to serve. But I feel like Escobar was more aggressive in this too. I feel like he was more sort of stiff, more physical, that kind of stuff. I like that Escobar won despite his cronies getting kicked out of ringside. That was pretty cool. And I also, the one big thing that stood out of this to me, after Atlas really had a shit ton of momentum and like he used the pipe again on both Mendoza and Wilde, and he did like I think a somersault senton or something to Escobar. Escobar, rather than like trying to fight from the bottom, he just rolled out of the ring and we went to an ad, and that was that. I just loved that. It was like, this dude's fucking genius. I love it.
Dude, what I love about Escobar, just before we go to our next segment and transition away from this, I think what I love about Escobar more than anything is that this is a guy that's the perfect hybrid of the heel that gets help from a legit faction. And you already know, like, I love their 6-man tag matches and just the synergy of the group. But when push comes to shove and he needs to count on himself, he can. And I love that shit, dude. I love that he really walks that line.
He doesn't cheat because he needs to. He cheats because he can.
Exactly. And he walks the line perfectly, probably in a $50,000 suit. But that's neither here nor there. Escobar retains, so I don't know who the next challenge is going to be. I really do hope that ultimately his reign does come to an end, courtesy of Swerve at the WrestleMania TakeOver. I need that match again, and I need that story to come full circle, but we will see. We then cut to Loomis drawing Cameron Grimes being chased by Zombie Ref, who's actually in attendance watching Loomis create. Very nice drawing. We stand an artistic, weird peepers kind of guy there in Loomis. Good shit. We then get Raquel Gonzalez versus Ailey, but before that, they have Shotzi talking about losing her tank after Candace ran it over.
Yep.
And what do you think about this, man, before I give my thoughts?
I just love the intensity. She's clearly pissed. She's showing it. I dig it.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because I think it's a testament to how endearing Shotzi is that she made me, like, develop an emotional attachment to a tank. Like, I liked it because it was just a part of her, right? So it's more an attachment to Shotzi Blackheart.
Well, we cared about it because we care about her and she cared about it. It's that simple.
Exactly. And she really showed why she cared about it, because she said the tank was, representative of everything she's overcome, and the family she doesn't get to see because they're in the military. Nice way to utilize Veterans Day there by Shotzi. And she says family is everything to her, and she's not looking to get even. She's not looking for revenge. She's looking to kick Candace's ass. So I love that intensity from Shotzi. Good stuff. So then we go back to the matchup. We see that Raquel's out, but then Boa comes out and says Zaya is not here. Now, Raquel gets upset by this. She's like, she called me out. And Boa's like, look, I'm sorry. Raquel's like, oh, you're sorry? And she puts a hurting on Boa, kicks him.
She beat the ever-loving fuck out of Boa.
She really did. Boots him in the face, caps it off with her big power bomb, and then she stands over Boa and says, Zaya asked for this, and warns everyone to get her name out of their mouth. Yep. And I said, Boa sold the beat down well, and after we see a Chinese dragon on the Tron and smoke, a mysterious man appears and presents Boa with a letter the same way Boa had presented Zaya with letters the last few weeks. The man also marked the top of Boa's hands with a symbol I couldn't quite make out. Could you tell what that symbol was, brother, before I continue?
No.
Okay, so that makes two of us. And ultimately, I just concluded my notes by saying, I'm still intrigued by this story and wondering where it will go. Really hope it doesn't flop. Where is this story with you, bro, in terms of interest?
Tonight definitely piqued my interest. I was very intrigued by that Chinese dragon Tron and the old dude coming out. Like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, I have no idea what this is going to dovetail into, because at first, I'll be honest, at first I was very reductive for this story's possibilities. I just thought it was going to be a very simple vehicle to turn Zaya heel, right? And then give her a heel repackaging. This seems to be bigger than that, because now it's enveloping Boa, and I'm almost wondering if this is going to be like an intergender faction in NXT that's coming.
Yeah, dude, I was like, when this old dude was coming out, before he came out, really, I was sitting here wondering, like, is there like another Chinese signee that we don't know about that's going to be like the leader of this whole ring or something like what's going on here? I really genuinely don't know where they're going with this, or if they're even going to have like a proper quote unquote leader of this, again, quote unquote faction. I don't know what to call it. It's intriguing, but it's one of those things where this is like one of those movies where I just want to skip to the end and find out what the hell happens to everyone, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm curious about the content of those letters. I mean, we know that Zaya definitely seemed disturbed by like the letters she got. Like her honor was at stake for her performing well, right? So I guess, okay, I want to be careful with how I say this, because I don't want to like replicate the very thing that I'm afraid of. I don't want this to be like a culturally reductive storyline, because you've got like these, Chinese performers, and I don't want it to be the caricatures of like, honor and this and that presented in a very simplistic way.
Right.
This definitely has my interest. So I'm going to keep an open mind about where it goes. So I can't say anything negative about things that haven't happened, right? The last thing I want to do is project into the future that this storyline's a failure. It could be, a really good thing for Boa and for Zaya. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely, this definitely bumped up a few notches in terms of storylines I'm on the lookout for on NXT each week. So with that said,
what? I wonder if this might have anything to do with Karen Q, if maybe she's behind this.
Dude, I hope so, because I know you've been mentioning her a bit more lately. I think that would be so cool for her. I think that'd be so cool for her to be a part of this. So we'll keep that in mind. Anything else you want to say about it?
Nope.
All right, then we go to our next segment. We see August Gray, which was his name showing up on the plate, so it's not Anthony or Andrew. It's August, actually.
Yeah.
Being interviewed, the interviewer asking him, attacking Timothy Thatcher. He starts to give an answer, and then Thatcher attacks him, and he more or less lays August Gray out with a guillotine, and then he throws August in Loomis's drawing, which is important. That's why I made a note that Loomis was drawing earlier. So Thatcher, feeling very proud of himself, he's smiling, he's standing over August's body. He turns around, he sees Loomis. Jeepers, creepers, those are some weird-ass peepers.
And I love, too, how Thatcher immediately realizes that he done fucked up, and he's just like, I don't have any problem with you.
Exactly, he does. And just leaves. He doesn't want any beef. And this is where I made the point in my note. I love how NXT is utilizing a lot of players in their stories. Because August Gray, they're not done with him. We got Leon Ruff, who's a fucking champion now. We've got Boa being enveloped in this faction. He's not like pulling any strings. He's just as much a part of it as anybody else. So NXT's really learning how to utilize their resources. I just wish that would extend to a certain somebody. Rick Books. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, good stuff here from Thatcher and August, who, now we'll get his name right, because who's going to forget that beat down, am I right?
Well, no, dude, I mean, they've changed his name, actually. That's the funny part, is that when the whole segment happened where Thatcher intentionally said his name wrong a couple times, his name then was Anthony.
Yeah, exactly.
He changed it. His real life name is Anthony. I think it's Anthony Green or something like that.
Yeah.
Now it's August Gray.
Wow, they changed the first name and the color. Holy shit. So
that's if I was right, which I very well might not have been.
Well, we'll see regardless, because now we'll see where that develops next week potentially.
Oh God, I just had a thought.
Yeah.
What if Kona Reeves is the leader of this fucking Boa faction?
I'm gonna defer to Foster on that, because I'd be more curious how he feels. But again, I think honestly, for me, on a sincere point, I would stand by what I just said. Like, I like that NXT is making use of their resources. And really, I don't think my problem was ever with Kona, like, on a performer level. I just personally didn't like the Finest gimmick. I thought it was very limited. Yeah. I really didn't care for it. I've seen it done better, in my opinion. No offense, Foster. So, yeah. If this is a repackaging for him, I hope he hits it out of the fucking park, personally. Yeah, Foster, they will. They'll do exactly that. You're absolutely right. But anyway, now that we've talked about Thatcher and his attack, we're going to transition here to Candace versus Toni Storm. Candace has a screen-in-screen promo before the match saying she could still hear the crunching and popping of Shotzi's tank after running it over.
Evil
says she's gonna
bitch.
do the same. I know, she reveled in it. What? I mean, Blackheart indeed. Poison Pixie, right? Says she's going to do the same thing to Toni. Brother, what did you think about this match, man? I'll let you go first on this.
I don't really even have much to say about this. I've never been a big fan of Toni Storm in the ring. This match was kind of unmemorable to me. There wasn't really anything in it that made me go like, whoa, that was cool. I think the most memorable thing is just the way that Candace won, with the feet on the ropes, and then, of course, Scream Mask coming out because Toni was pissed that she lost to someone who cheated. And then Scream Mask comes out and attacks, and then we get Shotzi coming out to try and even the odds, but Candace and Scream Mask even it up and win. Like, they get the advantage, and then Scream Mask unveils who it is underneath, and I won't say that until you're ready to move on.
Yeah, man, I mean, you pretty much covered everything. I will just say, talking about the match, I thought that there was a cool sequence towards the end where Candace misses the ticket to ride, but then Toni misses the leg drop off the top, so it's kind of like a back and forth. And then, like you said, Candace ultimately does get the roll up with the feet on the ropes. Toni, being pissed about that, goes back on the attack. Ghostface Girl, comes out, evens the playing field. Then Shotzi tries to get her pound of flesh. She gets neutralized as well with a curb stomp, which admittedly didn't come off too great. It did. I'm glad I wasn't the only one that noticed. Candace encourages Ghostface to unmask, and of course, it's Indy Hartwell.
Of course, yeah, like, I feel like when it was the person was helping Johnny, it was more like up in the air, because they looked like they were bigger. It looked like maybe, it might have been a guy or something, and then they started helping Candace, but then they never went back to helping Johnny, and as long as they're only helping Candace, and Indy Hartwell isn't on the show otherwise, it's entirely obvious that it's Indy. So, like, you went from, like, maybe a little intrigue, like, oh, maybe it's not Indy because they helped Johnny, and they actually, like, did some damage to Priest, but then no, it's just Indy anyway. I really wonder if they had a different person under the mask to help Johnny.
Yeah, that could be. I still think that it'll be two separate. I'm still thinking Austin Theory's on the table, which obviously I don't like. But, if we're talking about it, that name I think does have to be considered.
Yeah.
So
thinking about it, and we're talking about it, and I'm calling that a win.
Exactly. So good for Indy Hartwell. I think she's got a great look. I like the story they're telling with her. And again, it's utilizing the sources you got. So I not opposed to that at all. I think it's good for her. And long-term, it's good for the NXT women's division. So after that, we got Brisango cutting a promo. I actually really like this.
Dude. They were like, we're not going out there to have fun tonight. And then they were talking about, we've done it once. We can do it twice. We'll win the tag titles. Like, this is really cool. I love serious Brisango.
Yeah, and just to kind of get ahead of it, not to jump the gun, I love that promo wasn't just talk, and that like the way the main event was conducted, like they actually meant it.
I'm looking forward to talking about that because Fandango especially. Holy shit, this dude could be a star.
Oh my god, yeah. So tell you what, you summarized the promo perfectly. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. So I'll take the ball on this one. Thatcher versus Loomis came after this. I really enjoyed the interplay in the beginning between Thatcher employing Thatch as Thatch can, really working the mat and everything, but Loomis seeming impervious to it and just psyching Thatcher out.
Yeah, he had that Bellsprout strategy going.
Exactly. Thatcher creates an opening for himself. The turning point in the matchup was Loomis's shoulder going into the ring post, and I said from that point the psychology of the match shifts. With Thatcher really zoning in on the arm of Loomis. Mm-hmm. Thatcher, I make a point in my notes, he makes everything look so legit. I love it. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's the one thing I love about New Japan, even with the really safe workers like Sonata, who I could put in the ring with 100 guys, and I think he could have 100 matches not injuring a single person. But, like, I love that New Japan really does make everything feel real, especially with their workers like Ishii, Suzuki, Shingo, that crop. That's what they've got here in Thatcher. And I don't want them to underestimate how valuable of an asset that is, because you put him in the ring with anybody, and I'm telling you, like, if I was to get somebody into wrestling, I would probably show them something from NXT, only because they're going to know about the monopoly eventually, right? But I would show them a Timothy Thatcher match, just to really keep that magic alive. I think he's that good. He does everything so convincingly. So I just wanted to make that point. Yeah. I said in my notes, Loomis had a great comeback, including a breathtaking senton. The form was immaculate. I just wish that it would have had more body on body. I don't think Thatcher's positioning was perfect here. Other than that, though, I mean, it was gorgeous. Loomis was closing in on a win. Grimes distracts him by getting on the apron. I said Thatcher ultimately wins with an immaculate chicken wing pin. It looked gorgeous. Grimes attacks post-match, puts a burlap sack over Loomis's head and lays him out with a cave-in with Loomis, seated on a chair. And he says he's not afraid of him. And I concluded my notes before volleying the ball to you. 1,000% we're getting a burlap sack match between these two. I'm convinced they're going to do one of those goofy,
what would the rules to that kind of match even be?
Well, they've done matches like that before. Like, I remember, like, back in the early 2000s, D-Lo and Triple H did a match like that. I think the match would be, like, burlap sacks would be over both guys' heads. Oh. And they've got to wrestle with the burlap sacks over their heads, not being
interesting. So either Cameron would cheat his way into winning there, or Loomis was just win straight up.
And they would probably play it off like Loomis had a sixth sense or some shit. Yeah. Now, when Triple H had the match with D'Lo, like, he cheated because he lifted his blindfold up and then he was able to get the pedigree and stuff. But yeah, I think they're 1,000% doing a burlap sack match. That's my prediction. What did you think about this match? What do your notes say about it? And what do you think about the Grimes Loomis feud kind of continuing here?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I actually didn't know about the Triple H, D'Lo Brown burlap sack thing, so I'm glad that you know your wrestling history way better than I do.
Hell yeah.
As far as my notes, the biggest thing in here I have is that Loomis is just a really athletic, impressive athlete for his size. Like, this dude's 6'2", 239, and he did a fucking picture-perfect dropkick in this match that blew my mind. I love that Cameron is just so fucking petty that he doesn't even mind that he got his ass, like, just thrown off of the apron during the match because he also managed to actually cost Loomis the match. So he was happy, and then he got his beat down in. He was like, I don't care that this dude is unable to defend himself. I'm getting my beat down in. Fuck this guy. And then, I also really liked that, like, Loomis tried to defend himself. He didn't just act like this fucking, like, helpless baby because he was blindfolded. He grabbed a chair and tried swinging it at Grimes. I mean, it didn't work, but I appreciate that he at least gave it some effort.
Yeah, I like that too, because I think it helps maintain Loomis's mystique.
Yeah.
That, like, he was even able to attempt that, right, and come close. So I
because, like, if they do a burlap sack match, then we have almost like a precedent of, like, Loomis being a competent fighter, even if with the burlap sack over his head.
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree with you. I think your assessment's spot on. And yeah, I'm excited for where this is going to go. So after that, Johnny's calmed down. He gets prompted by the interviewer. I think it was maybe Sarah Schreiber, because I don't want to just keep calling them the interviewer, but they're like, Johnny, what are you doing here? And he's like, look, calm down. I'm going to talk to Mr. Regal about what happened. And, ultimately that calm lasts for about all of 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Because He says to Regal, look, I think the match should be thrown out. I should still be the North American champion. Regal more or less tells him, the decision still stands. It was your idea. And Johnny's like, I rigged the wheel. I made it so that it would be Leon. It was a goof. And Regal said, look, I don't know what to tell you, man. Leon Ruff is the new North American champion, which I'm really happy for the dude. Like, even saying that kind of makes me smile a little bit. And Johnny's like, what are we doing? Like, he is just beside himself. So,
yeah, man, this like, Johnny was a really good actor here, because this really, like, he sold this as so legit. I like, it legit felt like almost like someone ribbed him into this, and he was like angry that he was legit getting robbed, like stripped of the North American title or something. Like, really, really well acted. Yeah,
for sure, bro, for sure. I just have a random thought. I didn't even put this in my notes. I would low-key kind of love if Leon Ruff won the rematch too. This way we could say that, like, even though Johnny's this accomplished wrestler and really very good at what he does in the ring, like, even Leon Ruff isn't so much of a bitch as to lose his title in the first defense. Like, just pour the salt in the wound.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Dude, that'd be incredible. I'm tentative about if they'll do it or not. I'm not going to say I don't think they will, because I honestly don't know. I didn't expect Leon to win tonight. Yeah. I really thought they were going to do by the numbers. Oh, of course, Johnny breaks the curse because, he picked his opponent. But, yeah. We got the Champa promo next. Not even really going to talk about that. We already talked about that enough in our first segment.
Trash.
So, moving right along.
I love that he's bitching and complaining about people bitching and complaining and getting what they want when they bitch and complain.
Exactly. Old man Champa, like we said in the first segment. So,
what a jackass.
We get a Rhea and Io hype package, excuse me.
Yeah.
Rhea says WrestleMania was supposed to be the biggest night of her life and talks about the loss to Charlotte. She says people thought the loss would define her, but it didn't. She runs down the people she's beat since then and says a week from tonight. So we know, like, next week, it's going to be Rhea versus Io. Yeah. She's going to take her title back from Io. Dude, I loved Io's portion of the video package, though, because she says when you're a disciplined champion, you don't have emotions, you don't have setbacks, you don't have failure. And she concludes it, just by saying she doesn't fear the nightmare. But Io, and I think we've been using this word a bit lately, not unwarranted, mind you, because I think the people we have used it on deserve it. But Io is absolutely in that category of people that just have fucking presence, dude. And, like, this is why WWE shouldn't be afraid to, like, give subtitles to their promos or do pre-recordings for, like, non-English speaking superstars, because that shouldn't preclude them from being great promos. Because when you give Io the chance to talk, she knows how to sell a fucking matchup, and she knows how to sell herself as the champion.
And dude, I actually, just from the very little Japanese experience I had, I actually noticed something in this that native English speakers wouldn't pick up on. Io was disrespecting the fuck out of Rhea throughout this whole promo, because she didn't ever acknowledge her by her name. Like, in Japanese, if I wanted to say, John, how are you feeling? I wouldn't say, John, how are you feeling? I would say, how is John feeling? You know what I mean? Like, in Japanese,
right,
the grammar and stuff is different in a way that you don't really ever use the word you or I even really as often. I mean, I use more often, but you really don't use you when you're talking about or to someone. So the fact that Io kept saying anata no, anata wa, like, she kept actually using the Japanese word for you, which is anata, when discussing Rhea, which is, like, considered, like, super disrespectful in Japanese. And it's like she's basically going out of her way to basically just not even acknowledge Rhea's name, and, like, going out of her way to not give her that, even just that little inch, because she doesn't want her to, feel validated. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I thank you for pointing that out, man. That's why I love that you've, been taking the time to learn Japanese, slowly putting it all together. And I think it definitely adds a dimension to this that I very much appreciate. So yeah, great stuff. It actually was a nice final push to get me hyped for their match next week. So, okay. Here's how this all goes down. We've got Birch and Lorcan versus Brisango next, but there was, like, stuff in between this. And McAfee cuts another amazing pre-match promo. Now, I'm going to be honest, Ashton. McAfee, because of his energy and because of how he talks, I wasn't able to get all the high spots of his promo. I think you're better at dictating that kind of stuff than I am. So why don't you talk about this promo for us and what you really like?
Really, the only two things that I really picked up on that I loved were, A, he told the IWC that we don't deserve to see the match that we were about to get up next. And then B, he said this is the greatest night in NXT history because we're here.
I love that too. I loved how he said, you know, when he was on his way on his private jet to the hellhole of Orlando, Florida,
That he heard about his company reaching $150 million. Yeah, that was great too.
Yeah, it's some Javaris energy, flaunting that net worth. So good shit. Good shit. Maccabee is a natural on the mic to me.
He is.
He's just so damn good. So we get the pre-match promo. I think you covered it well, and I kind of added my 2 cents. So during the commercial NXT Rec Caps for us, we got a promo from Cameron Grimes where he said, look, I ain't afraid of zombies. I ain't afraid of all this, but I can admit I was afraid of Dexter Loomis, especially his dark eyes. But once I covered him up, I caved him in. Now Cameron Grimes has places to go. To the moon!
Yeah!
Dude, and I say on a serious note, I fucking love Grimes, and in particular his diction in his promos, man. Like,
I'm telling you, dude, it's fucking rhythmic. It blows my mind. This dude's like singing us a song through a promo.
And dude, that's the thing, because like there are different types to me of great promos. Some are just the great content, right? You're a great catchphrase, or you really know how to promote. Others, I've learned, especially through Grimes, or maybe I should say I've been reminded, because I'm sure I've learned it once before. But, like, a structure of a promo matters. And, like, I think you had a great word there. It's rhythmic. It has a rhythmic quality. And you don't hear people talk like that very often. So, because of that, what does that make Grimes? It makes him distinctive from his coworkers.
Yep.
This dude, I'm telling y'all, he's an entertaining heel. There is a fucking dynamo babyface here. I am telling you guys. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say, like, Daniel Bryan levels, but I'd be lying if I said I personally didn't get that vibe at times. And you would go there too, because I was even saying, like, I do get that vibe. I don't want to make it like a totalizing claim, but I definitely get that feeling hearing him talk and seeing him work. This dude fucking drips like a fucking star, man. It's goddamn. So then we learn that Finn Balor's going to be returning next week and give an update on the NXT Championship. That should be interesting, especially because I do want to make note that Mark Schoeneman noted in the chat that the next takeover, a lot of online sites are saying, is December 6th.
Yeah.
So I would think by that time,
and I just want to kind of double down. I have also seen that date, so I definitely think that Mark is correct here. I don't think he's like getting bad information or anything. I think that's right.
Yeah. So I'm very curious who Finn's going to defend the title against, especially because we already know, like,
Undisputed Era is. You jump straight to who he's going to defend the title against. I'm wondering if he's going to be able to defend the title. Because he could be. I mean, I hope he is. But there's also a non-zero chance that he's showing up just to relinquish the title all over again.
That could be. Okay, so let me ask you this. If he is able to defend the title, does December 6th, is that enough time for Cross to come back and we could just do Balor Cross?
I don't know. Like, that would be really cool, but I really don't know if it would be.
Yeah, because I'm only asking because I feel like with December 6th only being a few weeks away, you've already got a matchup with built-in promotion because Cross never lost the title. And then we already go back to Javaris' fantasy booking. Like, Finn would lose the first
dude,
match.
Ironically enough, I'm almost wondering if Finn would have to relinquish the title and Cross would be able to come back in time to challenge for it. So, like, we could unironically get Cross back in time to wrestle for the world title that he never lost against a guy that never even won it yet. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, we'll really have to see what they do. So I think you putting forward that possibility when I just treated it as a foregone conclusion that Finn would be ready to go, and that's why they gave him this time in the first place.
And especially with Gargano having just dropped the North American title, I almost wonder if they're going to do Cross Gargano at TakeOver for the world title.
Yeah, and then they'd have to play Cross, I think, as a babyface in that context.
That's kind of what makes it intriguing to me is the potential of them doing that, because that would mean, exactly, Cross maybe as a face. That'd be interesting for sure.
Which I think with the packaging and everything, you could very easily do. Yeah. It's actually not as hard as people might think. Yeah. But a lot of questions. And you definitely brought some of those questions to the fore, and I appreciate that. All right, then we get to our main event. Lorcan and Birch defending against Brisango. What did you think about this match, man? I'm going to let you talk first here.
I think that my comment that I made earlier really sums up a majority of how I felt about this match. Fandango came across like a fucking star here. Like, this dude had a full-blown, like, Daniel Bryan style hot tag. He was on fucking fire. He was taking out everyone. This dude is like 6'4", 250, and he did a fucking tope over the top rope to the outside. It was nuts. He's so good. I'm over the moon about Fandango getting a real chance to shine on NXT here.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, just to kind of respond to that particular point that you made, I'll always be a bit heartbroken. Now, I love Fandango and I love Breeze and I love their brothership, how much they love each other and everything as a team. But when we got those Fandango promos a little while back, or like Vinny is like talking about the kind of performer he wants to be and the people he wants to wrestle, and they showed images of AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, I wanted that Johnny Curtis so bad. Like, I wanted to see him as more of a serious competitor facing the likes of Bryan and Styles. And when you see sequences like that, it makes me miss it a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Like, again, I'm not anti-Brisango by any means. I just, I think it's always a shame when gimmicks like that really delimit the possibilities of what a performer is capable of, or more pointedly, what a company believes they are capable of.
Yeah.
And I think he's definitely capable of a lot more. I will say, staying on the Fandango track, the best thing about this match, the two best things about this match to me, or maybe three. McAfee to me was great on commentary. I'm still loving McAfee. I know Foster says already kind of over him. I totally respect that. McAfee's still doing it for me with his energy. I love that the match is pure chaos from beginning to end. Brisango told no lies when they said they were going to be serious. No lockups, none of the bullshit, no gimmicky spots with hip swivels or anything like that. No, this is about regaining the titles, and they showed that intensity. And the best part to me, because they got me, they worked me, I'll admit it.
The leg drop?
The fucking false finish with the leg drop.
Dude, that fucking... I was ready for the tag titles to come back home to Breezango. I was all in. I was like, oh my God, that's going to be it. They're going to get the titles back. And my mom was like, good, they should. And I was like, yep, that's it. And then it was a fucking 2 count. Lorcan, the motherfucker, kicked out.
Can I say, too, that got me to pop so much more than Birch running interference. Yeah. Like, Lorcan showing that he's that tough. Because I'll tell you what that does, too. I mean, it would have been fine if Birch broke it up because tag teams should defend each other. I mean, the fucking Revival taught us that better than any team. But Lorcan kicking out of his own volition shows how tough this team is.
Yeah.
And, I really, really appreciate that. Because that's what really just makes it a hope spot. So yeah, I freaking love this. I thought that was great. Dunn was a fucking equalizer because he took out Maverick, who, by the way, set up that spot by taking out McAfee, in case I didn't make that point before. He takes out Maverick.
Well, dude, he actually did an enziguri to Lorcan.
Yeah. Which allowed Fandango to get the power bomb, which kind of set up the whole thing. Yeah. But then after the hope spot, Dunn comes in. He neutralizes Maverick. Yeah. He also neutralizes Breeze, and that allows.
That was brilliant too, dude. I don't know if you even saw the way that Dunn did this. Dunn, because Maverick did the enziguri, allowed Dango to get the powerbomb off on Lorcan, but then Maverick also did a somersault senton or a cannonball to McAfee to take him out. Dunn comes in throwing hands, takes out Maverick, throws McAfee into the ring on one side of the ring, opposite the corner that Breeze was in, which distracts the ref because then McAfee stands up and he's like, what the hell? How did I get in here? Whatever. That distracts the ref, though, so that Dunn could go over and pull Breeze off the apron and beat him down while McAfee had the ref's attention. Dunn orchestrated that whole fucking thing. He's the MVP of this faction right now.
Yeah, definitely. I love it too, man. I really love that they gave Dunn that kind of shine in the faction, because the more you let the individual parts of a faction shine, the more the whole looks dangerous, right? Yeah. So you've got Lorcan that looks tough as hell. Birch still exists, but, at least he does that. So
Birch is the very clear weak link in this faction.
Absolutely. McAfee's the talker, who can get physical too, as we'll talk about here in a second.
Oh, and yeah, McAfee's the fucking sniper. McAfee doesn't get much action, but when he does, it's a kill shot.
Yeah, he doesn't miss. He doesn't miss. And Dunn, at least for me personally, earned the distinction of enforcer after the
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, have you seen the fucking ripped ass, goddamn muscles that this dude's got?
Yeah, he's packing heat. And I'm not just talking about the booze they get from the crowd. So these guys retain the tag titles. Love that these undercard titles are really getting interesting, with Leon Ruff being North American champion and these guys being a part of a very legit faction, quickly becoming legit faction as tag champions. Post-match, Brisango keeps getting laid out, and fucking Breeze gets punt kicked by McAfee, and just fuck me, man. What'd you think about this?
I legit, I love the whole setup of this faction, man. I love that McAfee is the shit talker and, the specialist, because I don't know if you noticed, but, Maverick gets in, he goes up on the top rope. He does the fucking cross body to, I think it was Lorcan or Birch, one of those two guys that he attacked. And then he ends up getting 3-on-1 beatdown. And I say 3-on-1 because McAfee does not sully his hands. McAfee backs up and plays cheerleader while the other three guys beat down Maverick, and then Fandango, who tries to help and gets overwhelmed, and then Tyler Breeze, who tries to help and then gets overwhelmed. And then once the other three guys are done with their dirty work, then they hold up Breeze and McAfee does the punt. And I love that the whole time McAfee is playing cheerleader. He's sitting back, he's watching, he's cheering everyone on. And it's only when it's time to finish the job and take credit that McAfee gets involved. I fucking love the way that this faction is set up. And then even after that, McAfee resumes his role as the mouthpiece of this faction because he grabs a fucking camera. Who needs a mic when you can talk directly to the people at home? He grabs a fucking camera, and directly into it, he says kind of the two catchphrases that he's been espousing for the last couple weeks. You're looking at the greatest four-man group in wrestling history, and of course, my favorite, we're the greatest. You all suck.
I love his frat boy energy so fucking much.
I know, dude. He's such a perfect douche.
Yes. Couldn't have said it better myself, friend. And that was NXT.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything else you want to say before we get to our next segment?
Just that I had a lot of fun tonight. This was a really good episode. I would say one of the best episodes in a while. Maybe
Agreed.
A month or two. And yeah, I just hope that they can just kind of maintain this energy going forward, because this felt it felt very eclectic, but in a good way, in a really, really good way.
I think I'd agree with your assessment wholesale. So with that said, let's get into our next segment, high spots and low shots. Just going to be very quick about it. My low shot is Dexter Loomis.
Even though he won? Or no, he did lose. You're right. Wow.
Well, not only did he lose, dude. I mean, let me take you through his night real quick, because to be fair, there were a lot of people who could have chosen for high spot.
He did have a really bad night. Holy shit.
He got his art destroyed.
Yeah.
He lost to Thatcher, and he got assaulted by Cameron Grimes.
Yeah. So, man.
Loomis is my low. I wanted to be a bit creative with my low shot. Yeah. Well, I had it coming. So who's your low shot?
I mean, keeping it simple, my low shot's got to be Brisango, right? They lost their rematch, and as far as any official count is concerned, it was perfectly legal. They didn't lose to any cheating. There's no cheating on the record, and they just straight up lost. That's it. They're probably out of contention for the tag titles now.
Yeah, you're right about that. I actually like the case you made for them, because that makes them have an even worse night than Gargano, because you could argue that Gargano will get a rematch at some point.
Oh yeah, I mean, Gargano had a terrible night, but he had a terrible night in a meme way, whereas Brisango had a terrible night in a very real way.
Exactly. Yeah, I again completely agree with your assessment. High spot, I want to give an honorary high spot to Barrett, because his commentary was really noted by me tonight. Again, I already read my favorite line that he had all night. The only thing better than beating the odds is being the odds.
Yep.
And I think he is so comfortable in this role, and he might even be one of the best commentators in the company. I still love Joe. I know Joe's been wearing you down a little bit with some of the things that he does. I just think Joe's got that natural.
It's more just the try-hard voice. I feel like his try-hard voice is just too much for me.
Whereas I think Barrett's just comfortable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he's just
Barrett's very much a natural for sure.
Exactly. So honor and high spot goes to Barrett, because now that we're back to reviews, I did say on the Discord and elsewhere, I was looking forward to us getting back to basics, and one of the things we do is even acknowledge commentary or whatever from time to time. So my actual high spot is the man with the drip and the Cruiserweight Championship, Santos Escobar. Oh God, my body. Again, I think he's one of the best presented champions in the company right now. I know Sami Zayn exists, and God, he has one of the best Twitter games right now, and he's one of the best talkers right now. Roman Reigns exists. I mean, I'd be calling him daddy if he broke through the front door. I very much know my place in the tribe, which is no place at all because I'm a fucking pleb. But I think, and here's the point I really want to make with Escobar being my high spot. It's so much more impressive to be that kind of champion in a division that everybody is kind of looked over. I mean, not everybody, because I know like 205 Live has its diehards. We're privileged to call one of them our friend and, a regular audience member. But I think on the whole, the cruiserweight division isn't taken as seriously as maybe it should be. And like Escobar is out here putting in the work. Like the Intercontinental title has a rich history. It's always going to be taken seriously on some level. The world title's the fucking world title. And Hurt Business has been doing great stuff with the U.S. title. Escobar has his work cut out for him, elevating a division that I think a lot of people, again, overlook. And man, is he doing a fucking fine job of it. And as far as it relates to tonight, because that's where we try and keep our high spots and low shots, he retained the title in another quality matchup against a cruiserweight that, before I was pretty ambivalent about. But again, Escobar has that quality of making you care about the opposition. He's an amazing champion, and I'm privileged to be able to recognize him as my high spot. Who is your high spot tonight?
I'm going to keep mine really simple. My high spot is Leon Ruff. I tell you what, the honorary high spot goes to Candace LeRae because she won and then got away with it because she actually ended up with the advantage in the post-match beatdown, and we got the reveal of who her, helper is. But Leon Ruff actually won a title tonight out of absolutely nowhere and in the biggest upset, arguably, of the entire year and probably of the decade. Like we're 11 months into the decade, and the upset of the decade already happened.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And again, even if it only does last a week, I'm really happy they gave that to Leon because he's been bumping and selling his ass off. I mean,
yeah, dude, this dude was like out of his fucking, like, he was just whatever, man. He's a very happy to be here kind of guy. He's like, you know what? I don't mind if I have to lose and make everyone else look great because I get an opportunity to be on WWE television. And they're just like, you know what, Leon? You're getting rewarded.
I mean, bro, this was the guy that, if I remember correctly, was Karrion Kross's debut to get that act over. Like, it was Leon Ruff.
I think you might be right, yeah. I think you might be right.
And the straitjacket kind of sleeper thing. And, like, yeah, he did a great job there. It's nice to see the hustle get rewarded. Yep. So good for Leon Ruff, and I love your choice of high spot. With that said, do you have anything else you want to say about NXT tonight?
Nope, let's go home.
All right, then with that said, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-owner and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to like the video as you file out. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for NXT reviews on YouTube. And we'd like to think we're the best at what we do, so we're aiming for the very top. So help us along and leave that like, a comment on the video when it's done processing. Talk to us, talk to us, talk to us. How do you feel about Leon Ruff shocking the world and becoming the new North American champion? Who's your favorite champion in NXT right now, seeing as how we got 3 title matches tonight? And what do you think about McAfee's merry band of maulers here that he's put together, and Pete Dunne and Team 1-2, Oney Lorcan, and Danny, the coronavirus isn't that serious because I'm a chud, Birch. So be sure to talk to us about all that. We got a lot of things coming, especially if that takeover does happen December 6th. They're going to have to start putting a card together, and I'm very much wondering what that's going to look like. You guys can check out everything that TWitWoW is involved in, either in the description box, or you can refer to our background that my co-ord and commentary made, quite beautifully, I might add. And, just to promote some stuff, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we've got a TWitWoW request live from DBK. It's a JBL matchathon. We're going to be live reacting to 5 JBL matches. So that's going to be very interesting. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Friday at 5, we have got Stardom. It's going to be their November 8th show. I very much expect them to get it up at that time because they've been uploading at a faster rate, and I think they're already halfway through the November 8th show, so I'm definitely thinking it's going to happen. So you can join us at 5 for that. Then at 10, we've got a 205 live reaction. That's another TWitWoW request live. Was that from Foster? I don't want to be presumptuous. It was either Foster or Paul, right? Okay, Foster. So it was Foster. Foster, I know you're still here. You're beautiful, and we thank you very much for the donation. Very appreciate it. Hope we show up for you on Friday. No doubt that we will. And then 11 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be coming at you with our Friday night SmackDown review. We'll have to see how the Tribal Chief does business. I think we're going to see the Survivor Series team for the women continue to get filled out. And I think the men still need one more spot, so we'll see if Murphy takes that spot as you predicted on our Raw review, which you guys can check out on the channel. And Foster notes that it is the 205th episode, so that should make it intriguing. We'll see what happens. And yeah, guys, that's just the rundown for the rest of the week because Saturday and Sunday we are off. So, and then we're right back at it with a Raw review next Monday at 11.
Well, remember, we're doing Saturday night at 9. We'll be doing a preview.
Oh, that's right. You and I did agree on that. Thank you for reminding me. Saturday night at 9, guys, we're going to be doing a preview of Stardom's November 15th show with one hell of a doubleheader. We have got Julia, who we all know, we all love Julia, against the ground technician of Stardom, Oedo Tai's own Konami, looking to become the Wonder of Stardom champion. And then the main event, the 5-star Grand Prix winner, the next big thing, as I've called her, is it her destiny, Utami of Queen's Quest, trying to take the World of Stardom title, the red belt, from the leader of stars, Mayu Iwatani. It is going to be a fucking barn burner. I think it's a match of the year contender, as will be as well Julia and Konami. So again, I think it's one of the most stacked doubleheaders that Stardom has had in a long time, and we are previewing it Saturday at 9. It's going to be fucking sexcellent, y'all. We hope you're there. So again, leave a like, be cool, be calm, love yourselves, love each other, and we'll be seeing you again tomorrow at 4 for that JBL Matchathon. And until then, tune in. Peace out.